Good morning. It is Monday, December 15th, just 10 days until Christmas, coming up fast. Hanukkah started last evening at sunset. A lot going on and a lot to talk about here on the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. You know, we're here each and every weekday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern. And we talk about today's top weather headlines on the Weather Desk. Sometimes it's local, and we're going to start off with a huge local story for us here in Hampton Roads. That's Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. If you're watching from other parts of the country or maybe around the world, we have dangerous cold conditions early this morning, frigid wind chills, and we're not alone. Much of the Northeast U.S. also dealing with bitterly cold conditions. We'll talk about that, talk about how that's going to evolve a little bit. In addition to these stories, we're also going to talk about frosty bears, and specifically I'm talking about a certain team, the Monsters of the Midway, the Chicago Bears. Happens to be my favorite NFL team, but that's not why we picked this story. It was one of the coldest games on record at Soldier Field. So we'll talk more about that. And cold-stunned turtles. So those are actually sea turtles that have been cold stunned. We'll talk about where that's occurring. We have a bridge collapse captured on video from Montana. There were 3 different bridges in the northwest part of Montana. One of those bridges was captured on video during the collapse. So more on that, and it's all related to all of the heavy rain and the atmospheric river that's been producing all of the extensive flooding in Washington state. We'll talk about the recovery, how folks are doing right now, and what the plan is moving forward. And then we also have a change in the weather pattern upcoming, when we can look forward to warmer days here in the mid-Atlantic and over much of the eastern United States. It has been very, very cold. It's been a tough go through the first couple weeks of December, and looking forward, it does look like we have some hope in warmer weather to enjoy. So these are the headlines, and we've got a few other stories we'll be throwing into the mix as well. Stay with us here over the next 25 minutes or so. We're going to start off, though, talking about our weather impact alert. Technically, early this morning, we had a cold weather advisory. So, you know, this was going on through 9 a.m., and we have the cold weather impact alert because these temperatures and the wind chills, this is the coldest air we've seen of this winter season so far. And we've decided, because it's still so chilly, we're going to let this run through the morning hours. By noon, we'll take it down. But we've got these frigid wind chills, and a reminder, if it looks wet out there, assume it is frozen. That has been the case. Now, we take a look at the temperatures, and the lows this morning down into the upper teens around Norfolk. That does not happen very often. We have temperatures in the lower teens around Emporia, Wakefield. You can see 12 in Petersburg, 15 at Ahoskie, 16 in Suffolk. It was 19 in Chesapeake, 20 in Virginia Beach. When you get temperatures in the teens to near 20 right along the ocean water, and currently the ocean waters are in the 40s, that moderates the temperatures at the beaches and along the bay. It's really cold. This Arctic air mass has been something else. So that's where we bottomed out this morning. The record low, 16, was set back in 1962. So we were just 3 degrees from the record low for this date. So very, very cold this morning. You take a look at the winds, and it has been really, really chilly. The temperatures down a good 16, 15 to 20 degrees across the south side. You head down into North Carolina, it's 20 to 25 degrees cooler. Edenton, Elizabeth City, Manteo, 30 degrees chillier than this time yesterday. So yesterday we started off with some wet weather and some snowy conditions kind of mixing back and forth a little bit. There's a changeover to snow, and there was even some graupel, and that's a type of precipitation, wintry precipitation. I like to equate it to like an M&M, where it's crunchy on the outside and a little softer liquid on the inside. In the case of graupel, sometimes you get a little bit of water on the inside of those graupel pellets. At any rate, A lot of that going on yesterday. We cleared out, and then the temperatures plummeted overnight, and this is the big change into the morning. Now, as we take a look at the temperatures again, right now, we've made it up to 20, Wakefield, Franklin, and Ahoskie. Norfolk's now at 23, so we have warmed up a few degrees. That's nice. 25 in Virginia Beach, 25 at Melfa right now, Tangier Island at 26. It's been really windy up that way. Let's take a look at these current wind gusts, and we've had a gust of 28 recently at Wallops. Again, earlier Tangier was seeing gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour, so winds were really whipping the northern part of the bay. It hasn't been as big an issue here, but we've seen some gusts in Virginia Beach, at times close to 20 or 25 miles per hour. We had a 24 mile per hour gust at Duck. Generally, the winds have been easing. You take a look at these wind chills, and finally, we've left the single digits for much of the area, although Elizabeth City's at 7, and Wakefield, it currently feels like 9. We'll take this full. You can see, again, these wind chills, very, very cold, but you might be wondering, you know, when we talk about wind chills or feels like temperatures, what is the coldest wind chill ever recorded? Well, we have the answer. Meteorologist Hunter Force has it.
The coldest wind chill ever recorded in the United States happened at the summit of Mount Washington in New Hampshire, more than 6,200 feet above sea level. During an intense Arctic blast in February of 2023, air temperatures dropped to around 46 degrees below zero, while winds howled at over 100 miles an hour. When you combine that brutal cold with hurricane-force winds, the wind chill plunged to an astonishing minus 108 degrees. To put that into perspective, exposed skin could experience frostbite in just a few short minutes. Now, wind chill isn't an actual temperature you'd see on a thermometer. Instead, it's a measure of how fast the body loses heat when wind strips away warmth from your skin. The stronger the wind, the colder it feels, even if the air temperature stays the same. Mount Washington is especially notorious for extreme weather, earning its reputation as having some of the worst weather on Earth. Safe to say that's cold on a whole different level. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
All right, there you go, 108 below zero. I guess we shouldn't complain that much about single digits, but it did feel awfully cold out there this morning for sure. Want to show you what's happening nationally. We've got the Arctic air in place, and this cold air blowing across some of these warmer bodies of water have produced some lake effect snow, and we've seen some interesting things offshore. So again, we'll take the maps full, and I want to get in, and I'll put this loop on so you can see the air pattern and a few things going on with these satellite images. You can bring me back up here because I want to show you, as we look at the visible and infrared images, you see that right there, that area? We'll let it cycle through one more time. That's the visible satellite picking up snow. There it is. There it is. You can see that snow line right there. That's snow on the ground. There's been some snow up across parts of the Northeast, and then again another little disturbance, but there's some lake effect coming in off Lake Superior, and you can see again some plumes kind of working off Lake Huron. You can see right here coming off Lake Huron, and then over Lake Erie, we've seen a little bit of lake effect snow there just out to the east of Cleveland, a little bit coming over towards Buffalo, Lake Ontario producing a little bit as well. So kind of interesting to see that. Now, I mentioned similar effects felt here in the mid-Atlantic. We didn't get any bay effect snow, not with this round, but what we have seen are these streaks with this cold air moving across a relatively warm ocean waters. You get that moisture near the surface, near the ocean, kind of warmer and moist air rising because that air is so cold around it, the ambient air, that you get that air rising and then condensing the moisture, and you get these streaks of clouds offshore. So again, we've got some cloud cover near the coast. Inland areas, skies have been mainly clear, but this is a great indication of just how cold it is. You see the snow there on the ground, and we'll let it cycle through one more time. You can see what's going on across Iowa, and this has been a bigger issue along I-80. A crash involving dozens of cars and tractor trailers shut down traffic along a snowy Interstate 80 over the weekend. The area was under a winter weather alert, and at least 20 people had to be taken to the hospital. The crash shut down a 40-mile stretch along I-80, after first responders were almost hit by people attempting to drive through the scene. Just a scary situation there in Iowa. Wanted to share that with you. Take a look at the highs yesterday, and I'm going to talk a little bit about sweet home Chicago, and specifically Illinois, where football fans braved dangerously cold temperatures to see the Bears host the Cleveland Browns. Now, despite being one of the coldest games in Soldier Field's history, the Bears say more than 50,000 people still showed up to the stadium to cheer on the Bears. Here's Maher Kawash.
Bears fans braving through dangerously cold temperatures today at Soldier Field.
This is Bears weather, man. I come to every game like this. If they tell me it's going to be cold, I buy the tickets right away. This is what I want to be out here doing.
As wind chills dipped below zero today, fans still pulled up bright and early for their tailgates, doing everything they could to stay warm.
We got a propane heater, we got the food, and we got the booze keeping us warm, and you just got to dress a little bit warm. And
I don't know. There's probably 15 articles of clothing on me right now, and I'm perfectly warm.
This is nothing new. It's something we're used to. This is easy. Honestly, I'm wearing too much. I'm a little too hot right now.
The Bears had roving medical teams throughout the stadium, as well as 4 warming shelters in different areas to keep fans safe. Those fans say the sunshine did help out a bit today, as well as the Bears sending them home happy with a win.
The sun was on us at the start, so we got the nice warmth, and then it set, and then you really had to kind of keep yourself going. But, you know, we were scoring touchdowns, we were making plays.
I think as long as you have a lot to cheer for, the fans don't mind the cold so much. Now, in full disclosure, again, I am a Chicago Bear fan. My producer actually pulled that story from Chicago because it relates to just how cold it was. But I'm pleased to tell you the Bears took care of business, sit at 10-4 atop of the NFC North, and are in great shape to make the playoffs. What a turnaround for Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears, loving the Monsters of the Midway. And I will tell you, I watched some pregame coverage, and there were some Bear fans out there in those frigid temperatures, shirts off, going crazy. Coming out of halftime, I did notice there were some holes in the stands where fans, I think, were still at the warming shelters. It filled back in as the game was going. But for a while, I was like, wait, where'd the fans go? They were huddled around heaters, but did pack the stadium out for the second half. A lot of fun, but really cold in Chicago. Now, these were the temperatures yesterday. You can see Phoenix hit 82, Denver 67. It's kind of interesting. As cold as it was here, the Broncos hosting yesterday, and they were in like short sleeve shirts, some of the fans out there in the stands with temperatures in the upper 60s. So big change in the conditions out west relative to what the Northeast and the North Central U.S. has been dealing with. Here's where we are this morning. Take a look at these current temperatures. It's 9 in Louisville, 9 in Chicago, 10 in Cleveland. Temperatures low 20s in New York, 26 in Atlanta. And I bring up these cold temperatures here along the Northeast because it's not just humans who are dealing with the cold. Right now, a New Orleans aquarium is caring for 35 cold-stunned Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. Those turtles were rescued in Massachusetts last month after exposure to frigid air and water caused them to wash ashore. They were initially treated by the New England Aquarium before being flown down to New Orleans. Kemp's Ridley sea turtles are the most endangered sea turtles in the world and spend most of their lives along the Gulf Coast. Aquarium officials are hopeful the turtles will be able to be returned to the Gulf in the spring when the waters are warmer. Good to see those little guys and I guess little gals getting their attention they need down in New Orleans. So cool thing. Cold stunned up here, they fly them down and they will release them down here where the waters are warmer and they can deal with it. All right, so that's what's happening. Again, we've got this very cold air, but warmer weather to come. We're going to talk about that coming up. A lot to talk about as the Northeast U.S. has been dealing with the cold. Things will be changing. So we're going to take a short 2-minute break, and I will have more on when this pattern will break. In addition, how the West Coast is cleaning up after the atmospheric river caused catastrophic flooding. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We've talked a lot about the cold. I want to update you on more of the headaches associated with all of the flooding, the intense weather they've been dealing with in the Pacific Northwest, which has at times impacted areas even farther east across western and northwestern Montana. Want to take you to this part of Montana and the Big Sky State, Big Sky country. You can see Kalispell. Absolutely breathtaking country here. The Rockies are amazing. I have family that lives up in Whitefish. And again, we go out and visit and just taken by the natural beauty out there in Montana. It's spectacular. But they've been dealing with some intense flooding. And I want to show you what's happened just around the Libby area in northwestern Montana. Here's a look at the damage. Heavy rain and high waters have washed out at least 3 bridges in the mountains near Libby. And again, that's in the northwest part of Montana. As you can see, one of those collapses was even captured on video. Tough to see that, as the city opened a shelter inside a church to help people forced to evacuate. Nearby Lincoln County has also declared a state of emergency. So a lot of headache with that excessive rainfall for the Pacific Northwest. And we're going to turn our attention now to Washington State. And you can see rain continues to fall across parts of Washington and Oregon. Some rain and snow over the higher elevations up into the southwest part of Canada. You can see Vancouver still dealing with rain. We can put the clouds and the radar loop back on here. And again, that moisture continues to stream in off the Pacific. It has been brutal. For several days, the atmospheric rivers brought heavy rain and flooding to the Pacific Northwest, and the flooding forced tens of thousands of people across the state to evacuate. In one case, the floodwaters even swept away an entire home in the town of Deming. Here you can see it floating down the Nooksack River. Fortunately, the homeowners got out safely but are now living in a hotel. About an hour south of Deming, waters have been slowly receding in Burlington. This drone video shows home after home flooded by the Skagit River. Residents there have been given a tentative green light to return after being ordered to evacuate on Friday. Savannah Welch has the story.
Well, officials say people can return home if it's safe to do so, but as you can see, many areas are underwater this morning and plenty of roads are closed like this one. The water goes all the way to that house across the street there. You can see it goes right up to the front. There's probably about half a foot to a foot of water in the roadway all the way up to the house. Those low-lying areas are really seeing the worst of it from all of this flooding. Take a look at our drone video showing just how widespread and severe this has been. Roads, neighborhoods, and fields all swallowed up by flood water. Some families had to paddle through the flooded streets in kayaks, and others used them to rescue animals trapped in the water. One family we talked to was relieved to find their chickens were alive after the coop was flooded. We talked to several neighbors about how they were feeling when they saw their homes underwater.
It's heartbreaking. Material stuff comes and goes, and everything else will be God's will.
What a week it's been for people in Skagit County. The Skagit River crested at record highs, topping out at nearly 38 feet early this week, flooding streets and neighborhoods across the valley. Evacuations are partially lifted, so if it's safe to return to your home, you're allowed to do so. That's what the county and city are both reporting this morning and saying, so they're encouraging people to get back home if you can, although some areas are obviously harder hit than others, and it's going to take a while to recover from this. Also, people are being asked to use caution because of the next round of rain that's expected in the coming days. So as people come back home and try to make sense of all this, it's been a very difficult situation here in Burlington over the last few days. In Burlington, I'm Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
All right, Savannah, thank you for that update. And a quick extra mention here. A member of Virginia Task Force 2 has been deployed to Washington State to help with flooding response efforts. Davison Division Supervisor Jamie Brads left Virginia Beach on Thursday and joined the FEMA team in the Tacoma area. He'll be working with local emergency operations and overseeing task forces to make sure search and rescue missions are done safely. All right, we'll turn our attention from Washington State and all of those hardships back to this cold pattern we've been dealing with. You look at the month of December, we had the 2nd of December, the high of 58. At that time, that was normal. That was the average high. So we have one gray day, all of these days shaded in blue below average. And then on Saturday, we made it up to 58. That was the day that we were telling you last week. Take time, make sure your house is good to go, brace for the cold weather because it sure arrived yesterday. Yesterday, the official high was 49, which is not a big deal. I mean, that's 6 degrees below average, but that's misleading because that was earlier in the morning. As the day went on, we fell through the 30s and eventually down into the 20s with clearing skies, and then it turned bitterly cold overnight and early this morning. So what do we have going forward? You look at the next 10 days. Today, temperatures lower 30s. We're going to be in the low to mid 40s for tomorrow, 53 on Wednesday, and then 61 on Thursday. You see how the pattern is changing. Instead of being cold like we have been for the first 2 weeks of December with so many days stuck in the 40s, as we look forward over the next 10, we're going to be in the 50s. And looking out over the next couple of weeks, this is 8 to 14 days out through the 29th of December, we are looking at above average temperatures for a good section of the U.S. The last bit still below average up around Maine, maybe northern parts of New Hampshire, down through Boston, it might be slightly below average. But basically from New York City on down through Pennsylvania, and you can see New Jersey and the Mid-Atlantic through the South, things are looking to be above average. So that will be a welcome change for a lot of folks that are quite honestly over the cold weather. And we're just in mid-December. We're just getting it started. You take a look at the sky view here, the Thompson Creek Company sky view. We do have some high, thin clouds drifting through at the airport. 23 right now. Winds are northwest at 7 miles per hour. Over the next 9 hours, temperatures will rise into the low 30s. We do have mostly sunny skies, mainly clear this evening. Cold again overnight, but not as cold as it has been. We will see lighter winds today, and that's very helpful as far as taking the bite out of those wind chills. Now, as we go along, you'll see a few high, thin clouds from time to time. That's what we just showed you with that live sky view. Right now, the radar is sweeping clear, and it will continue to sweep clear as high pressure takes over. As that high slides east, we're going to see the winds shifting around a little bit, coming up from the southwest as we get into the day tomorrow. And that's going to set up a warmer Tuesday, while the morning temperature is still very cold, low 20s to mid 20s across most of the region. Some wind chills Tuesday morning here in Hampton Roads in the upper teens. It is going to get warmer during the afternoon, as I mentioned, lower to mid 40s across the region. Looking ahead to Wednesday, temperatures getting up low to mid 50s. And then as we look farther in the week, we hit that high around 60 on Thursday. You'll note the clouds across the area, maybe a sprinkler or two off to the north late Wednesday. The better chances for showers here goes up late Thursday and then into early Friday. Here's a look at our highs across the south side today. I think officially the airport around 32, 33 degrees or so. That's where we'll be. Downtown Norfolk 34, 33 at Town Center, Chesapeake and Suffolk mid-30s, 33 around Smithfield. Up on the peninsula, temperatures close to 34. Williamsburg, Newport News and Hampton, maybe a degree or so colder. Gloucester over to Matthews. Cape Charles 32, 30 at Melfa. Still a little breezy there along the eastern shore, but mostly sunny. As we look across the south side, you'll find the temperatures here also in the mid-30s, maybe upper 30s for Edenton. Chilly day for sure, and the Outer Banks in the low 30s. We just don't see this much cold air across the region all that often. Not this early anyway. Sometimes we get that occasional super cold blast January into February, but here we are in the middle part of December, and these temperatures far below average. Overnight tonight, lows near 25, skies mainly clear. I'll share a story with you. Last week, we were talking about the Geminid meteor shower, saying it was going to peak Saturday night, and it did. But I noticed coming in early this morning to the station, this was around 3:15 or so in the morning, driving down 264, which runs from west to east. I saw a fireball shoot across the sky, running really, it looked like it was, overhead and following the same path I was driving. Super cool to see that. So with the skies mainly clear tonight, I don't know if there's going to be any stragglers 2 days after the meteor shower, but every once in a while, you have that peak on a given time like we did that Saturday. But I caught one this morning, and for that brief moment, took my breath. I was like, oh, look at that. And I was like, oh, it's part of the Geminids. Super cool to see that. All right, tomorrow we're going to see temperatures in the lower to mid 40s, sunshine a little bit milder, and the warming trend will continue. We'll get back up to 54 Wednesday, 60 on Thursday, showers late, and then scattered wet weather on Friday. A little cooler into the weekend, but it's going to dry out, and we'll be happy to see that. Want to remind you, you can always get the full forecast when you download the 13 News Now mobile app. It's for free, obviously, available wherever you download your apps, whether it's Google Play or the App Store. Make sure you download that and have access to all of our weather, traffic, and news updates. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Weather Desk. Again, I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We'll see you next time.